And a jolly good morning to you from another very warm Hertfordshire Saturday by the River Lea, and I'm in Hatfield, which is where part 3 of this series of walks ended yesterday. In fact, I've managed to come back 2 days on the trot to get stuck into this walk, and welcome to part 4. Today's walk, firstly, if you've just found part 4 and are interested to have a look at the walk, there is a parts 1, 2 and 3, and after 4 there'll be some more, so you may want to go back to the beginning, part 1 being from the source of the River Lea in Leagrave near Luton, part 2 from Luton to Harpenden, and Harpenden to Hatfield was part 3. So part 4 today, I'm going to be going to from here in Hatfield to Hertford. Now, I'll apologise in advance. I've been having a little look at this this section of the walk, and I'm fairly confident in saying it's going to be the least inspiring of all the sections that I will do between here and the River Thames. It would appear that it's quite difficult to walk close to this river for the majority of the trip, so this is probably going to be a walk along the Lea Valley, predominantly down roads. I don't know that until I get going. I've got slightly conflicting information from Google Maps, from the Go Jauntly app I use, and also the Lea Valley website and 1 or 2 other places. So there was a little mention of some permissive footpaths across Hatfield House, the land belonging to Hatfield House and so on, that have been closed. How old that information is, I really don't know. So I'm going to set off. The one thing that is for sure is that I will eventually at some point get to Hertford today, through the Lea Valley. How much of the river we're going to see, I don't know. But if you want to join me, please do. If you want to skip ahead and go to episode 5, that will be from Hertford to probably Ware, I think, or somewhere in that general vicinity. And I'll be doing that walk as soon as I possibly can. But anyway, for now, let's get on. I think I need to go this way towards the Hertford Road, I think it's called, and take it from there. But as I say, apologise now if this is a lot of traffic noise and not too much countryside beauty. Hopefully we'll find some along the way. Okay, so the various options coming up on the different apps make this a walk of somewhere between 7 miles and 9 miles. I've managed to find a way of just breaking it up into little sections that send me via the river as much as I possibly can. That's going to be nearer to 9 miles, of course, because the river doesn't really go in a straight line, but the roads do. So wanting to avoid the roads as much as possible. So we're off to a good start here. In fact, I found a public footpath. There is, looking at it, going to be a certain amount of road to walk along. I have a feeling it's unavoidable, and of course the closer I get to London, that's going to be more and more the case. But this is going to be interesting today to see how much of it between Hatfield and Hertford I can negotiate without having to walk along what is almost a motorway. I think that's the A414 just over there, I think, which is a very busy road. Anyway, let's go, let's see, and hopefully, incidentally, I was going to try and go to the Mill Museum today, but I don't really have the time. That's just here in Hatfield. Had a quick look in there yesterday, used a couple of their facilities, and in fact, we're just going past it now. I've just taken the side path down to the Millgreen Museum. It's only just opening now, but it does have a cafe and some quite interesting artefacts to look at, so well worth considering if you're in Hatfield. Just not quite open yet. It's just before 10 o'clock in the morning, so it'll be opening very shortly. Always worth mentioning, it's open every day apart from Monday, which seems to be the worldwide standard of museums not opening on a Monday. Does seem to be the case in many places you go to, not just in Britain, but everywhere. So I don't know why that is, why it's a Monday. I suppose the staff have to have a day off, a certain day off of the week. Maybe we don't need history uplifts on a Monday. I don't know. Anyway, that's the museum. Sadly, not really got time to ponder and go in there today. It's a Saturday. The cafe's apparently only open on a Saturday, and today they'll be serving afternoon tea from 10 in the morning. So if you're an afternoon tea in the morning kind of person, then get in early and those scones won't have run out. Luckily, it looks like I'm not going to have to walk actually next to the A414, which will be a very unpleasant experience. There seems to be a footpath that's going parallel to it, which is a vast improvement on what I was expecting. It's going to be a very hot day here, unseasonably hot, same as it was if you've watched episode 3 from Harpenden to here in Hatfield. I did yesterday. We have a few days of very hot September weather, which it's not completely unusual, but it's not normally quite this warm. So I need to crack on before it gets to the peak later on, which is going to be in the 30s today. Bring plenty of water if it's like that, because I don't think there's too many places to grab refreshments on most of these routes until you get a bit closer to London. So this footpath, which was shielded by the trees from the busy road, has now moved quite a bit closer to the busy road, and hopefully, fairly shortly I'll be leaving this road anyway, crossing over somehow through an underpass or bridge, which I'm sure will become apparent shortly, to cross over to the other side and head away. So far so good, not too much walking along a motorway. One thing that's always apparent though when you walk along busy main roads is how much litter is by the road, and really it's very hard to conclude anything other than this litter has just been thrown out of a car window. McDonald's wrappers there, Costa coffee, all the usual sorts of litter that you find. And as I often say on my videos, if you're one of those people that goes around lobbing rubbish out of car windows into the hedgerows and like that, bow your head in shame. You are a disgrace. Take it home with you, put it in a dustbin. It is not difficult. It is not difficult at all. Okay, rant over. I'll come back to you once I've got away from this busy road. Right, well, there's no underpass here. So if you come this way and you've got any, or you're in a group or with children, etc., I suggest you take it very carefully indeed. I'll dodge across this main road now. At least there's a central reservation and it's not massively busy this morning, so because that's where I want to be going, down that road there, away from this A414. Oh wow, thank goodness for that, away from that road, at least for the time being anyway, towards a village called Essendon. I don't know how busy this road's going to be. Hopefully it's just a quiet country lane and there's not too many cars coming down it, and the ones that are not going too quickly because it's not very wide and there's no footpath. But if it remains quiet, that's not a problem. I live in the countryside and quite often walk down roads like this, and generally speaking not an issue. Just make sure if you're in Britain at least, walk on the right hand side to face oncoming traffic. If you're somewhere where they drive on the left, then do the opposite, and hopefully if they don't see you, you will see them. Right, that's good to get away from that road. We'll actually make contact with the river again shortly. Going to be crossing over it and then walking on the south side for a while. One of the, as I mentioned earlier, one of the reports, if you like, of the walking around here did suggest on the south side there was a permissive footpath that was closed. I'm hoping that it's either reopened or I'm going to be able to get through this way. The Go Jauntly app is sending me this way at the moment, and it's pretty reliable. So shut gate here already, so interesting to see what that says. You can hear the river flowing anyway. And we're in the Hatfield House estate now, so this was part of a walk that was mentioned as being shut off. Now, of course, on the day someone came, it could have been shut off for a reason because there was an event on in here. But anyway, here we go. The River Lea, going through the Hatfield House estate. Looking splendid this morning. Gaps in the hedgerow as you walk along this road next to the river. When you go through them and have a look, there's little fishing ramps there. In fact, there's one there, some ducks having a... you do need a licence to fish in here, as this private fishing, no day ticket, so you need permission from somebody anyway. Right, so thankfully you're leaving that little road as well. For the time being at least, and going down a proper footpath, so it's getting better and better. I'm pleasantly surprised at this so far. Just hope I haven't made an error of judgment and end up having to backtrack on myself, because it might be a pretty boring video otherwise. It's certainly nice down here, and if you just go through the gaps in the hedgerow where the fishing platforms are, it's really quite tranquil, nice just to watch the river gently going by. Such as this. I'd much prefer it if that sound from the road over there wasn't there, but hey ho. Incidentally, this is called the Essendon Path, and it essentially will just go all the way until we reach the village of Essendon, or the road that leads into it at least, and that'll be the point where I go back to the app and decide on the next waypoint, if you like, on the route to stay along the river. But it looks to me, once you get to Essendon, there's a B road that runs next to the river the entire way into Hertford. That's what it looks like anyway, so we'll see once I get there. See how that pans out, but this is pleasant enough, and I'm more than happy with this now. I've actually got on the walk itself. I either misread the map slightly, my glasses are steaming up in this weather a little bit, or the name of it's changed, but it's now called the Fisherman's Path. And I'm wondering, because this is private fishing, you can't just turn up here and start fishing, something to do with the Hatfield Anglers Society or something like that. And I'm wondering if on the day the person mentioned about a permissive footpath being closed, there was some sort of fishing tournament going on along here, and they didn't just want people wandering up and down, making a noise or whatever, and it was closed on that day just for a particular reason. I'm hoping that's the case, because it's a really nice footpath to be walking along, and it'd be a shame if there's one further along where it's closed. Yeah, just I've got no idea really, but I'm just wondering, because there are a lot of fishing platforms as you go along, and it would make it ideal for a tournament. Another one down there, I guess. The river's just over there. Feels quite tranquil now, quite a long way away from the busy main road. You can just about hear it in the distance, but it's quite nice now. Plenty of tree cover, or at least there is at the moment. And this path comes to an end fairly soon, and looks like I'll be walking along a road. I'm rather hoping that's not the road that was referred to as being a rat run to Hertford and not wide enough for the cars and lorries that go down it, and it's dangerous for pedestrians. I saw that written somewhere too. As it's a Saturday morning, I'm kind of hoping that if that is the road that was being referred to, then it won't be too bad, but we shall see. Right, so I've made it to the end of the Fisherman's, or is it Essendon path, and just going to take a few minutes to sit down here a sec, have a little drink, maybe a quick bite to eat, and decide in which direction I now go, which I think will be straight up that road there. Oh yeah, it's definitely straight up that road there. There's a business premises there with a gate, so I won't be going that way. The arrow's pointing up that way as well. Right, Lower Hatfield Road, and Go Jauntly app is not really recommending this is used, and I think this is probably the road that I was referring to earlier on. My options are quite limited actually, in as much as going back, you pretty much have to go back the way I just came and do a big circle through the countryside, but I'm gonna take the chance. There is a footpath certainly at the beginning of it here, and see how we go. I might live to regret this, but anyway, I'm going to take this road. It doesn't look too far until, essentially, it's telling me to go back where I've just come, a massive loop over in that direction, all the way back round, and then return through Essendon, which is just at the top of this hill. And then take a left, well, it would be in my case, coming up here, it would be a left turn. You would be coming in from the right, going to the left, so it'd be straight on up there. So I'm going to take the chance now and hope that the app's missing some information, or I'm missing some brain cells, one of the two. Well, so far so good, and there's a sign, the B158 towards Hertford. I don't have to walk down this particular bit of the road for too long, and then it sends you off to the left, what looks to be more of a country lane. So yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't want to be walking on the actual road itself on here, so I'll have to just see how viable this is going to be once I get along there a little way. Yeah, I think I've probably found that bit of road that was referred to as being completely unsafe to walk down. That is most definitely the case. Cars are coming 60 odd miles an hour down this fairly narrow country road. From there onwards there's no footpath. I've just sort of walked around slightly just to have a look to see if there's something or a means of walking down there. but there doesn't appear to be, so that's a shame. I'm just going to go back up here from where I left the fisherman's path a few minutes ago and just reassess what I'm going to do here. Well, let's get to see the river a moment, but this is a very awkward little part of this route if you want to stay near to the river, because basically turning left there where I just was is not really viable to walk along at all. The road here is possibly slightly more viable, so I'm going to give it a try, but cars really are rattling along. Could do with a public footpath just in some of this land here. Just going to set off and see how I get on. And I think I'm going to end up back on the main road in a moment, assuming I can get all the way up here. It's a shame because this has the potential to be a really nice walk between two interesting towns, and it looks like, unless you just stick to the cycle track on the busy main road, you're going to struggle to do that. Yeah, so number one recommendation, if you're going to take this walk between Hatfield and Hertford, don't take the south side of the River Lea. You're going to end up back at the A414 walking along the road with no footpath. Now, it's a Saturday morning, so I'm guessing that the traffic's probably not quite as bad as it would be during the week. Oh, look at that. Disgusting. However, it's still bad, and I'm on my own, which makes life a lot easier, of course. I've only got to look out for myself, but if you're with other people in a group, or heaven forbid with children, you would not want to be along here. It looks like I'm going to be walking along the A414 again very shortly. I'm just coming up to it now. I'm hoping at least it's got the cycle path to walk along that I was on right at the beginning of the walk, and then I think it's about half a mile. I take a right turn off down the country lane, so hopefully not too bad, but this is far from ideal, and I certainly wouldn't recommend this as a viable way of walking between the two towns. I'm guessing that there might be a better route taking the north side of the River Lea, but I can't see it. I was unable to see it earlier on, but if anybody does know of any and wishes to make a comment, then please do in the comment section below. Right, well, in this section there doesn't appear to be anything resembling a cycle track, unfortunately, but there is this footpath which is quite overgrown, very close to the traffic again. I'm not going to be walking along here that far. I'm going to be able to turn off from here, but again, this is not acceptable by me for a walk. So if I was ever to walk this section again, I'll have to totally reconsider. In fact, if anyone wants to do the full length of the River Lea on foot, I'll be inclined to cheat and get the bus between Hatfield and Hertford. I didn't say that. Finally, I can say goodbye to the A414, which, as you can see, is more or less a motorway, and take a sensible route, public byway 22, known as Deadfield Lane, and towards Letty Green. Now, the Go Jauntly app has not produced a suggestion for the last 2 miles, and the reason is because it's not going to make a suggestion that you walk along something as dangerous as that. Ordinarily I would steer well clear, but had I stuck to when I'd got to the end of the fisherman's path, when I realised what the situation was going to be, if I'd gone back, it would have just taken hours just to circle back in a massive long reroute. So I've kind of just taking that route just for the sake of time, really, rather than anything else. There must be a better way of walking between Hatfield and Hertford, because that is like some sort of Darien Gap, impenetrable section in the middle with no, it seems, no public footpaths or decent footpaths by roads even to walk along. So I'd be interested to know what that actually is. Failing that, I would basically avoid this section unless you can find somewhere viable. But certainly taking that south side of the river was not very successful, I'm afraid. My high hopes once I got on the fisherman's path were dashed somewhat when I got to that area where you could not walk in any direction with a footpath or safely. The only real safe way was to go back. Anyway, back off that hideous road and onto a footpath, and now looking at the map, should be a reasonable, sedate, relaxed wander into Hertford, county town of Hertfordshire. We'll finish up at Hertford Castle and the end of this walk. So I think I've probably got another 4 miles or so to go. I think should take around about an hour and a half from here. So let's go. Oh, I'm so pleased to get off that road. So for those of you that's wondering what's going on here, obviously I had to get away from the river somewhat, just to get round what appeared to be private land with no permissive footpaths across it at all. Why that's the case just there, I don't really know, but it's a shame. I'm in Letty Green now, which the River Lea itself is probably getting on for a mile over to my right, over in that direction there. And as I walk towards Hertford, it will gradually wind its way closer to the line of this path here, which is still within the Lea Valley. I'm just kind of halfway up the side of it, really, on the north side now. But anyway, there you go. This is obviously far more preferable than walking along that motorway, and just going to enjoy this now for the last hour or so into Hertford. Okay, so walking from Hatfield to Hertford via the river is not viable, not in its entirety, but the Coal Green Way is viable, and that goes all the way from Hatfield to Hertford. As you'll see there, Station Road up there is, if you walk up there, I'll come to the Coal Green Way, and I could have indeed walked on that all the way from Hatfield to Hertford, the old railway line. I'm not going to go up there and join it now. It doesn't seem much point at this point in time. However, of course, the point of this walk was to walk as much as possible by the River Lea. It's been a bit of a fail on my part, as I didn't seem to be able to find a decent way of staying close to it. Between the devil and the deep blue sea now, because I'm neither near to the old railway line or the river. So I'm going to carry on this way and head into Hertford and put this one down to experience, I think. But it's all good fun, this exploring. You never know where you're going to end up. And yeah, I'll say if you are going to do this walk, avoid trying to stay too near to the river between Hatfield and Hertford, and go down the old railway line. Be much better down there. Well, I'm going to go on the Coal Green Way. I didn't realise I was actually being routed onto it just a little bit further down, so here we are. So just going back to what I was talking about earlier on, this would be by far your best way to get from Hatfield to Hertford or vice versa, along this old railway line that is now a footpath and cycle track. And don't try and attempt to walk along the River Lea. I think part of the problem is the river goes through Hatfield House grounds and a lot of private grounds that haven't got permissive footpaths going through them, so you more or less come to a dead end. And that's okay if you come to a dead end and you have to walk down roads that have got footpaths, but when you come to a dead end of public footpaths across fields and so on and things like this, and then the roads don't have footpaths as well, you're a bit snookered, to say the least. So hence that charade back there of walking along the A414. So we're away from all of that now, thankfully. Just going to take this leisurely last, 45 minutes now, I think, and I'll be into Hertford and finish up with a nice cool drink. The temperature's into the 30s now. It's got pretty warm today, so hopefully there'll be somewhere to get a nice cool drink and an ice cream before I head off home, and then look forward to the next sector of this walk to London, which I think is going to be from Hertford to Ware, but I've yet to make a final decision on that. I shall be looking into that very shortly. Anyway, let's enjoy this this section here. Of course, you'd have to walk up towards Welwyn Garden City from Hatfield. So in terms of Lea Valley walking, this is kind of cheating by now, really. We will actually come back to the River Lea as in a mile or so, a couple of miles, just as we're approaching Hertford. This is definitely a diversion away from the Lea Valley itself. The river itself is probably at the moment at least a mile over there, over the other side of those hills. But this is a nice walk. I might do this separately at some point. It's about 6.5 miles along here. Always gets me thinking, there's so many of these repurposed old railway lines closed down in the 1960s and sometimes longer ago than that, that have been thankfully turned into cycle tracks and so on. I mean, I don't know if all these piles of concrete are railway building, P-way, track workers hut or something that's just still there, or it's something else that's appeared in the meantime. But it does. I often wonder as you walk down here, they've got that. You know, you've got that feeling of, if you started to dig into the cuttings and embankments on each side, how much old railway infrastructure and bits and pieces you would come across that have just kind of got covered over by soil and foliage and that over the years. I should imagine quite a bit. I think it's quite a high embankment now as the railway line went across this valley. I can imagine that over the years many bits and pieces fell off things, or bits of track and what have you, and fell down there. And if you came with a spade and had a dig about, you'd probably find all sorts of things. Occasionally old bits of infrastructure are preserved. There's one in particular I can think of on the Worth line, I think it's called, between Three Bridges and East Grinstead. You walk along there and there's an old railway station, but quite often a lot of these old railway stations, the properties were sold off, either knocked down or sold off as residential properties. But they're interesting all the same if they're still there. not seen too much in the way of old railway infrastructure down here, but as I say, I think if you dug a bit deeper amongst all these trees and bushes on each side, you would come up with a few little gems. Not suggesting anyone actually does that, but I'm more just musing at the fact it's probably there. Anything that was of value will have long gone, I'm sure. Of course, when an old railway line is bereft of old infrastructure to leave or preserve, then you just put up a pretend one. There you go, there's a signal. Shan't state the obvious to those that know. If you know, you know. But nice touch, I guess. I don't know if the post has been put up there especially, but certainly the actual signal has. Nearly into Hertford now, not much too much further, probably another 20 minutes or so. So looking forward to a nice cool drink. So, I think I joined it about here. Which is almost back to the River Lea. The River Lea has now joined us, where it merges with the River Mimram and continues on as the River Lea. And that'll be the final walk into Hertford, next to the river. So thankfully we've got some time with the river before the end of this walk. Going to be going under the very impressive Hertford Viaduct in a moment, which has the main line going through it from Hertford North Station, and it's very much still active. Whereas this, the line there, just see, would have gone off over there straight under the viaduct. Very impressive viaduct actually. It doesn't get too many accolades. It's always Ribblehead Viaducts and Lea Valley Viaduct and one or two others that get all the plaudits, but I always think this one's quite a nice one. It's certainly nice to go over the top of on a train. You get a lovely view from up there. Yeah, I mean it's not the biggest and most impressive in the world, but it's certainly another good example of railway infrastructure that's still here after many years. Right, so finally getting into Hertford. There's Hertford Town football ground. There's a game going on. Not sure if it's a proper first team game or not. So look, the price is to go in and watch if you wanted to go. There's not that many people in there watching, so I suspect it's not a first team game on the go, but you never know. And well, what seems like an eternity really, finally making it to cross over the Lea again. That's probably at least an hour and a half since I last did that. A lot of private fisheries around here. Doesn't seem to be much opportunity for the regulars, just regular people like me. There we go, There she is. Okay. Final little hop into town now. And finally, welcome to Hertford and Hertford Castle. And I was expecting to see lots of people around here today. Maybe it's closed. Reserved parking for a wedding. So as it's just Saturday lunchtime, I'm expecting perhaps there's going to be a wedding on here, a wedding reception today or later today. But I've got to finish the walk, of course, down by the river. Which was the whole point of this walk in the first place. Temperature's really rising high now. Sort of 1:30 in the afternoon, and I think it's got over the 30 mark. So that's it. That's the end of part 4. Part 5 will begin from here in the very near future, and we'll head off in the direction of where. Maybe a bit further. Haven't actually decided how long the next one's going to last for. But that's it from me today. If you've enjoyed this one, as I say, it's a bit of highs and lows with it, in as much as if you want to stay near to the river itself, it's not really doable walking. However, you can walk from Hatfield up towards Welwyn, join the old railway line and walk to Hertford that way, which is a very nice walk. However, I was walking the Lea Valley, not the railway line. So anyway, we got here, and hopefully great things will come from the rest of the walks from here on in down to London. So thanks for watching. Click the subscribe button and the yellow bell if you want to be notified when some more videos come out, and I'll see you again in the next one. Cheers for now.